Hello and welcome to the Ellen Made Book Club. Today we're going on a little day trip, and so we're going to visit a couple of historical sites and also go thrifting for some books. Our first stop is a secondhand store, so let's go inside and see what they have. So as you can see, this is in a pretty big warehouse kind of building where they have all kinds of household things and furniture and knickknacks. We looked a little bit, but there wasn't a lot of things that we found interesting, so we focused on the book section. The book section was also really big, and it looks like they have a lot of books. It's not the most organized. There were a lot of books, but it wasn't a very curated selection. We discovered pretty quickly that there were just shelves and shelves of books from the same authors. And so it seemed like they just had so many books that nobody wants. The selection of books in other languages was also really small. It was just a couple of shelves in this whole big place full of so many books. So that was a little bit disappointing. I looked through piles and piles of books, and I had a couple of options that I thought I might get, and they did have this sweet deal of buy 7, pay for 5. But I didn't end up buying any of the books here. So yeah, a little bit of a disappointment, but at least we have checked it out and we know that we don't have to come back here. So let's head to the next one and see what we can find there. The next place just had this little corner of books and this little spinny thing, and they did have a couple of titles that I know to be good books, but I either already had them or I wasn't interested in those specific books, so I didn't end up buying anything here either. We do have a third place that we want to check out, so let's head there now and see what they have. The book section in this store was also just a little nook, really, and it didn't look like they had a very great selection at first. They had one shelf with books in other languages, so that's English and German and Finnish and whatever else there was. So this is where I started looking, and I actually found a couple of titles that I really wanted to get. So I'm very happy I found these secondhand and at a very good price. Okay. Then I moved on to the books in Swedish, and this selection was a lot more curated than at the other big place. So I'm sure there was a lot of great books to choose from here. And I did get a couple of other ones, and honestly, I'm pretty proud of myself that I only got 3 more books.
Okej. Känns som att jag har den här, eller?
Jag vet inte.
Jag vet inte så väl läst den.
Jag vet inte. Excuse?
Precis när jag kliar mig i huvudet. Road trip!
So now we are coming into a little town called Vadstena, and we are hungry, so we are gonna start with getting some burgers from one of the restaurants in this little square. There's also a playground and a castle that we're gonna walk around a bit later, but first we need to eat. These fries were exceptional, by the way. So this is Vadstena Castle, which was built in the 1540s to strengthen the country's defense. And then it was turned into a royal residence, and since then it has had some other uses. Today you can go there for guided tours and events and things like that. It doesn't look very big from the outside, but when you're standing in the courtyard, it's pretty impressive. There's also this moat around the castle, which connects to the lake, which is where we're gonna go next to just sit and relax and enjoy the nice view. And now we're headed to our final destination, which we're actually going to because of Booktube, and in particular because of Gina at the Library Mouse. She mentioned to me that her grandmother was from Sweden, and her grandmother's mother actually came from Orlunda, which is really close to Vadstena, where we just came from. It's a very small little place in the middle of lots of fields. There are a few houses, and there's also a church. In front of the church they had this sign about biodiversity. It says a home to many, and Gina has cats and dogs and seems very passionate about animals in general, so that seemed very fitting. This place actually has a really long history. The name means the Grove of Odin, which is one of the Norse gods, and among other things, the god of death. There are findings here that suggest that this has been a burial site for at least 1,000 years. This church was built in the 1880s, but there was a church here before that, which was built in the 1100s. So in the late 19th century, it was decided that it was too small and it needed to be replaced. So it was torn down and they built this one instead.
Rain.